It's been an amazing 2 weeks in Australia. Deacon's been travelling all over Sydney, New South Wales. He's given, I've lost count now, but about 22 talks, something like that. High school students, he's been to university, he's been to preparatives, he's done seminars, conferences, retreats. He's done it all in the last 2 weeks. And we're blessed to be here for the Hills Parish for the finale. And what better way than this topic? Why wait? And it's a topic that we need to really understand more than ever in today's culture. Now, who is Deacon Harold? We've seen him before. He's not just a deacon, he's a married man, he's got 4 children, and he's been on EWTN for the last 17 years. He's got 8 series on the world's global Catholic television network. He's been on all these different radio platforms as well, EWTN Radio, Ave Maria, and he also travels around the world preaching the good news. He's been to 16 countries, and Australia, I'm glad to say, is the #1 visited country 6 times. This is his 6th visit, and I've told him that we need to organise citizenship for the next trip, so make sure. He is transforming lives. Those who have heard him speak, especially live, the lights go on. It's been amazing. It's been amazing to see people transformed by his message. And so if you haven't heard from him yet, get ready. He's called Dynamic Deacon for a reason. You're going to find out why very soon. The way tonight will work is a 1-hour talk, and then we'll have some Q&A, and then we'll end at the end. So get ready. You can join me in welcoming the one and only Dynamic Deacon Harold.
I was very excited to reign in November of 2002, and of course the next month was December, Christmas, your first time serving as an altar as a deacon for Christmas, very excited. And I was greeting people after Mass, and a girl from the youth group comes up to me, and I said, Merry Christmas. She goes, Deacon, can I talk to you? I said, sure. And so I'm waiting for her to talk to me. She grabs my arm, and she pulls me toward the back of the church, toward the confessionals. And we're standing there, and she's looking around nervously, and I'm like, are you okay? Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, I was at my boyfriend's house the other day, and we were on the couch, and things were kind of getting, hot and heavy, and he asked me to do things, and I just, hold on. How did it make you feel when your boyfriend asked you to do things? Oh, well, I really like him, and how many times I've heard this? And I want to make him happy, but I'm just not sure if I'm ready to do what he wants me to do. I said, okay. Here's what you do. Now, if you don't feel safe, you get up and get out of there. But if you're in that situation again, and he wants you to do things, stop! Look him right in the face and ask him, when are we getting married? And see what he says. She looked at me like, what? I said, look, one of 2 things are going to happen when you ask that question. Either he's going to get really mad, and you'll know that the only thing he ever wanted from you was to get down your pants. He really didn't care about you at all as a person. Or he's going to play Mr. Smooth. Oh, come on, baby. Once we graduate from high school, and once I get my job, and get my apartment, then we can talk about, living together first, and then we can talk about getting married once I get my stuff together. And so I said, if he says that, you say to him, if you think that you should wait till you get your stuff together before we get married, I think we should get married before I give myself to you that way. And see what he says. She's looking at me like, you sure? I said, trust me. So she goes away. So of course, the week after Christmas is January 1st, the Theotokos, Mary the Mother of God. So I'm greeting people after Mass. And I look up, and here she comes right toward me. I said, let me save you a moment. This one right back here. What happened? I did what you said. What happened? We were back at his house again, and we were sitting on the couch, and we were watching the football, because in the United States, our football, the college, a uni football season is right between Christmas and New Year with all the bowl games. And we were watching the game, and the commercial came on, and I wasn't even thinking about anything, and all of a sudden he turns toward me, and he starts kissing on me, and he starts feeling on me, and he starts asking me to do things, and I took a deep breath, and I said, "When are we getting married?" And she told me that he got up, cursed her out, spit in her face, and said, "Get the hell out of my house. I don't ever want to see you again." But that's not when she started crying. She looked at me and she said, "Deacon, I really thought he cared about me." And that's when she started crying. So I looked at her and I said, "Right now, there's a young man, not a boy, who did that to you. A young man who was on his knees before the Blessed Sacrament of the Eucharist, praying to meet someone like you. This is a young man who's willing to give his heart, his mind, his soul, his body to you, and to only you, and to the children you will have together for the rest of your life until you're dead." I said, that is a love worth waiting for, because that is a love worth dying for. You compare that to man number 2. I was in Singapore, and I noticed in Asia, when I go to adoration, I go to adoration every week. When I go to adoration, there's usually kneelers, but in Asia, there's not a lot of kneelers. There's big open space and huge throw pillows. So I had a pillow, I put it behind my back, I was praying the Liturgy of the Hours, the Divine Office, and in walks this young man, takes his shoes off, takes his coat off, walks in, and first I noticed the guy, first of all, because of his suit. That suit must have cost at least $3,000. 100% silk, beautiful suit, not like Men's Warehouse. What I wear. He took his jacket off, and he went and he got a pillow, and he lay face down in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. And this guy was in early 20s. And I'm like, praying officer. And after about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, he gets up, dusts himself off, walks over, puts his coat back on, puts his shoes back on. I said, I gotta go talk to this guy. So I ran over to him, I said, "Excuse me, sir, I don't mean to disturb you. I'm here from the States doing a mission in the parish, and I noticed that obviously you're very busy, but you found time to come to adoration." He said, "Yes, I'm an investment banker. I work 60, 70 hours a week. And I don't have time often to do a full hour of adoration, but I catch 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there." And I said to him, "Dude, your girlfriend must be so excited and blessed to have a man like you in her life." And he laughed at me. He goes, "I don't have a girlfriend." He said, "I'm praying for my future wife." And I said, this guy gets it. This guy gets it. And let me tell you something, ladies, right now. You're not going to meet your future husband on Snapchat. Or on Instagram, or in the club. Call me Whip, call me Danny. You're going to meet your future husband kneeling next to me before Jesus in adoration. And I tell you, ladies, all those guys in adoration with me don't all want to become priests. There's some things in life that are worth waiting for. And giving yourself to someone, the complete and total gift of yourself, is one of those things. Now, When we talk about relationships, in our culture today, we say that relationships are contracts. See, if we look at what God's plan for relationships are, just very quickly take a look at two things very quickly. In Genesis chapter 1, it says, God creates man in his image and likeness. So God creates the male and the female, each and each child, he created them. And what's the very first thing that God does? So he creates man and woman, the pinnacle of his creation, the high point of his creative activity. He creates male and female, man and woman, each and each child. And what's the very first thing that God does? First thing. And verse 28, and God blessed them. First thing. What's he doing there? What's a blessing between a man and a woman called? Marriage. They get married. But in other words here, they're establishing a covenant. See, we live in a world today, though, that says that relationships are just contracts between people. Like when I went to the store and got my mobile, my iPhone, when I bought the phone, they gave me a contract. And the contract says this phone was supposed to work a certain way. And if it doesn't work, I go back to the store and I get my money back. Because they didn't live up to the contract. We think in our culture that that's what relationships are between people. That's how we get language like friends with benefits. Hit it and quit it. Bang that chick. And that garbage language that so many people use when they treat each other as objects for pleasure and gratification. That is not God's plan for us. When God establishes a relationship with us, he doesn't establish a contract, he establishes a covenant. A contract is just an exchange of goods. This is yours and this is mine. A covenant is an exchange of persons. I am yours and you are mine. It's making a complete and total gift of yourself to someone. And that someone makes a complete and total gift of themselves back to you in love that is free and faithful and total and fruitful. It's a love that gives everything. It's a love that holds nothing back because Jesus held nothing back with his love for us from the cross. He gave everything. And that's exactly what he expects from us. An exchange of love and life and intimacy and communion. He does that first. Now, he speaks to us for the first time. And in fact, this is a command. The way he speaks is called an apodictic command. He's not asking, he's saying. And God said to them, be fruitful. In Hebrew, ekpata. Be open. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. What is he saying there? Be fruitful and multiply. What is he saying? He's saying, have sex. Deacon, you said, look. God could have chosen any way that he wanted for us to come into the world. We could have fell out of a tree. We could have crawled out from under a rock. But instead, he allows us to participate in the power of his life-giving activity. What does that tell us about this conjugal act? Sex is sacred and sex is holy because it is a participation in the life-giving power of God. But what we've done, we've taken this beautiful gift and twisted it and distorted it and perverted it and changed it into a consumer product. In the United States, we spend $3,000 every second on pornography. $3,000 every second of every day, turning women into whores for our pleasure and gratification. And I hope, gentlemen, that are looking at that garbage, that every time you do that, you are also fueling human trafficking. You are helping to exploit young girls every time you look at porn. Never mind contraception. Never mind sterilization. We cut ourselves off like dogs and we wonder why we can't fill our Catholic schools, we can't fill our churches. We've bought into the lie of the culture. We want to be like everybody else. And then we mock and ridicule families who are open to life, who have 5, 6, 7 kids. You know, look, we were out to dinner once. Like my wife and I had 4 kids because I was a monk, so I got a late start. Okay, so we were out to dinner and we had 2 babysitters because we had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, one babysitter. Then we had newborn twins, second babysitter. So we were out to dinner. We were talking about the kids, and then we started talking about other things. Then someone walks over to our table and says, I couldn't help but was just hearing part of your conversation about your kids. You know how that happens, right? And my wife took a bite of her salad without missing a beat. She said, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Yes, come on. Now in Genesis chapter 2, a little bit different take on the story here. It says, it's not good for the man to be alone. Remember, he creates him, puts him in the garden, says, hey, the tree thing, got it, dialed in. He says, it's not good for man to be alone. Why not? Because God himself exists as a family, as a communion of persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the family on earth is to be made in the image and likeness of the family in heaven. And so God says, I will make a helper fit for him. Helper doesn't mean maid or cook or someone to do my laundry or someone to drive the kids to soccer class. It's actually helpmate in Hebrew, a compound word, instead kenegdo. Literally means someone who stands opposite or parallel to you, who helps, aids, assists, surrounds, protects, and defends in battle. God wanted to create a battle partner for the man. What's the battle going to be against? Satan, sin, and death. They fight together. How does he go about creating this this battle partner? Creates a bunch of animals, and he brings it to the man. How about this thing right here? Okay, that's a vulture. No, I'm not with that, Lord. Okay, how about this thing right here? Okay, that's a buffalo. I'm not feeling that, Lord. No, that don't work for me. And there was not a helper found that was fit for him, is the conclusion. And so what does the Lord do now? He puts the man to sleep. And he takes a rib and builds up a woman. The dude wakes up. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Woo! Bone of my bone! Flesh of my kid. What's going on here? First of all, the Word of God says, he put the man into a deep sleep. The word there in Hebrew is teredema. Teredema. Teredema means a deep sleep without consciousness or dreams. So, for example, in Exodus or in Job or in 2 Samuel, when someone is in a teredema, when they wake up, God does something amazing. And what does he use to build up this battle partner? He uses a rib. Which seems a little bit strange, because if you're going to build a battle partner to fight against sin and death and the devil, use a big bone like a femur, or tibia, or fibula, or humerus, or clavicle, pride, or scapula, occipital, temporal, ulnar, radius. I mean, why such a small bone? Why a rib? Why? Close to the heart? Okay. I study theology, not physiology, right? I think the heart is mostly on the left side. The Word of God doesn't say what side he took the river, but it could be either side. Why a rib? Oh, whew. At least some of the guys are not giving me the answer that the guy gave me last week. He said, because he had an extra one. So I said, basically calling your wife a spare rib? Is that what you're saying, man? Look, here's the deal. If he used the bone from the lower part of the body, she'd be less than him. If he used the bone from the upper part of the body, she'd be greater than him. Use a rib from the side of the shoulder, she's equal to him. Equal in dignity before God. Why is that beautiful? Think about our Lord on the cross. Our Lord is in the terdema of death on the cross. And Longinus spears him in the side, and what flows out? Blood and water. Church fathers say the church was born from the side of Christ. The bride comes forth from the side of the bridegroom. Beautiful. So the imagery here in Genesis 2 beautifully parallels our Lord crucified on the cross in the terdema of death and the woman, the bride. From Revelation 19, verse 9, blessed are those who come to the wedding feast of the Lamb, where Christ, the eternal bridegroom, is giving life and love and intimacy and communion to his bride forever in heaven. And that's foreshadowed beautifully right here. And notice this, that some people will say, well, see how the church treats women? The women are always created like after the man. You know, she's created second. It's always the man first, then the woman. Hold on now. Let's see what's going on here in creation. She's not created second, she's created last. Last. Why is that important? Genesis 1, all the stuff, stars, moon, animals, then male and female, we created them. Not second, last. Then in Genesis 2, the man, all the animals, then takes out the rib, builds up the woman, not second, last. So the woman is the apex, the high point, the final brushstroke on God's creative activity. Why? God saves his best work for last. The woman is the life giver and the life bearer. A woman has a special intimacy with the Holy Spirit that we just prayed in the creed. In Latin is Domino et vivificantem. The Holy Spirit is the Lord and giver of life. And a woman, by the very nature of how God created her, has the ability to participate in the life-giving power of the Holy Spirit in a way that we men can never imagine or understand. That's the high point of God's creative activity, the woman. And notice, he brings her to him as a gift. Look what I did for you. And he looks at her, and he doesn't say, man, she's hot. He said, this at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Why does he say it that way? In Semitic languages like Hebrew and Aramaic, there are no superlative words. So we use words like the greatest, the best, the most, to describe something to the highest degree. But they have no words like that. So in order to describe something to the highest degree, they said something 3 times. Right? Got holy, holy, holy is the Lord, because the Lord gets the highest degree of holiness. Or they use a prepositional phrase. For example, in 1 Timothy or Book of Revelation, Jesus Christ is King of kings and because he's the greatest of all kings, the Lord of all lords. And so now the man looks upon his wife. He looks upon the person that God has placed in his life, that perfects him, that completes him, that perfectly complements him. And he says to her, this at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You are the greatest of my bone. You are the greatest of my flesh. You are the greatest part of who I am. You are my equal. That's what he's saying. It's almost as if he looks at her and he says, myself. And maybe she looks back at him and says, my source. That's covenant relationship. In the very next line, therefore a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. The conjugal act. Now, what is the deepest form of intimacy we can have with God on this earth. The Eucharist, body, blood, soul, divinity of Jesus. And what's the high point of that Eucharistic communion? When we dare to get off those benches and walk toward the living God, body, blood, soul, divinity, Eucharist, to unite our bodies with his body. The two become one flesh. That is described. Now, this is Genesis is before the Eucharist, before Jesus, before any of that. But in a sense, that two in one flesh, that conjugal act of communion between a husband and a wife is a Eucharistic act. What does that mean about sex? It's sacred and it's holy because it is a participation in God's creative activity. And notice the order in both Genesis 1 and 2. Covenant first, sex second. The ratification of the covenant is the spilling of blood. That's why Jesus said that the spills of blood is the blood of the covenant, and the spilling of the blood is the exchange of the intercourse of that exchange between a husband and a wife. The consummation of the marriage. That's what it's about. That's the foundation from which we need to start from. But again, we live in a culture that wants to throw all of that away. Now, why should you believe anything the church has to say about sex? So some people say the church doesn't like sex, the church doesn't like. No, the church loves sex. We love Viagra. All right? It's true. There's no issue with that. Here's the thing. Ultimately, when we're talking about these kinds of things, we're talking about what is true and what is good and what is beautiful, not subjective opinion. So, for example, say that someone wants to learn how to play piano. Two people want to learn how to play piano, two friends. One guy decides, I don't need anybody to show me how to play. I'm smart. I can figure this out all by myself. So he goes to the music store, he buys a how-to play piano book, and he says, I'll watch a few YouTube videos while I'm at it, and tries to teach himself how to play piano. So he's trying to figure out, you don't need a teacher, you don't need anybody to show him, because I can do this by myself. I don't need God, I don't need a teacher, I don't need anything. So he figures himself how to play, and then he gets called by his friends. Hey man, we're having a Monster Hunter tournament. We're having a Fortnite tournament. You want to come over and play? Yeah, sure. So he goes over and plays with his buddies. And comes back after a while, a few days. Oh yeah, piano. And he tries to figure out, starts to play again. Why? He's not disciplined? Because he figures, I can just do this on my own. I don't need anybody. I'll figure it out. Second friend decides, you know what? I'm pretty smart. But I know nothing about piano. I need a teacher. So the guy hires a piano teacher. The teacher teaches him how to sit at the piano, how to hold his hands at the piano, how to read music. And he has to learn, okay, middle C, from the C to the next C is an octave, flat and third is a minor. Then he has to learn, little scales, major scale, minor scale. Then as he progresses, he learns modal scales, Mixolydian, Dorian, Phrygian, Locrian, harmonic minor. And here's the thing, he has to practice 30 minutes a day. Sometimes he don't feel like practicing. But he goes ahead and he says, you know what, there's 168 hours in a week, 30 minutes a day. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Even though sometimes it's hard, I can do it. So he disciplines himself 30 minutes a day, and he stays on schedule for a whole year. Now, both friends come back together after a year of learning piano, and they sit down, they start to play a song together. Now, the first friend is playing, but he's frustrated because what he hears in his head and what he sees he can't quite get it across the way that he wants on the piano. And he's frustrated. Meanwhile, the second friend is playing beautifully. In fact, he's not just playing a bunch of notes that he's reading on the paper. he's adding dynamics. Forte here, pianissimo here. Taking his foot a little bit off the pedal. Adding dynamics. Why? He's able to express himself through the music. Now let me ask you, my brothers and sisters in Christ, which one of those two was freer? Which one was freer? The one, remember, wait a minute, before you answer, this guy thought he was completely free. I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. I can do this all by myself. Because it's all about me, myself, and I. He believed he was totally free. But this guy, he was the one who got a teacher. You know what the analogy here is? Who's the teacher? Our church. The catechism. The Bible. Your parents. Your teachers. Your priests. The Monsignor. Your deacons here. They are the piano teachers. And what is their job? To help her. So they said, here's how you pray. Here's how you give yourself to God. Here's what it means to be in communion. Here's what all this stuff that we do at this altar every week means to you in your everyday lived experience. It connects your faith to your everyday life. Jesus says the truth sets you free. But in order to really live that faith, what do we have to do? We have to practice. That's called virtue. Practicing our faith, just like practicing piano. And sometimes we don't feel like being virtuous. We don't feel like it because it's difficult. Because all the culture is saying, if it feels good, do it. And you have to discipline yourself and say, no, I will not use my body as a playground where everybody takes a turn. I have more respect for myself than to follow what everybody else. You know, ultimately, I don't care what anybody else says. I care what Christ says. And sometimes you want to do what your friends want, but you discipline yourself. I got this. I got this. And you discipline yourself, and what happens? You end up becoming the person who God created you to be. The rules and regulations and commandments and moral codes don't enslave you, they actually free you. Just like learning how to play piano freed the person to be able to express themselves beautifully through the music, following the laws of our church. Because something we express is so negative. You can't do this. You can't do that. I hate that. You have to go to church. Look, it should not be. It should be like, you know what God does for you when you show up to Mass every week? You know what He's doing for you? You know why? Paul says your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit that you have within you from God. You are not your own. You've been bought with a price. Glorify God in your body. When you live according to those teachings, now you're truly free to be who God created you to be. Because your life is no longer dictated by the lies of the culture. The way you use your body and your mind and your heart and your soul are directed by the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now, let me give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about here. Like I said, this is a joke. Now, unlike here, at most unis in the United States, the students live on campus. About 90% of all the students that go to uni in the United States live on campus. They don't commute. They live on campus. So they have their own food supply, their own water supply, their own food, stores. It's just like a little city on the campus. And I was the police chief of that little community. There was a young man that came to me, and he said, now he knew I was a deacon. So he wasn't confused with my role as police chief and deacon. He came to me for advice as a deacon. So he comes to my office and said, yes, sir, can I help you? He said, I want to talk to you as a deacon. I just want some advice. I said, sure. He said, I'm really interested in this girl. Now, this young man was a very, very nice young man. But he was like nerdy, like, hi, deacon. Just kind of nerdy, kind of pimply. Very nice beautiful heart. And he said, I'm interested in this girl and stuff, and I just don't know how to approach her. I'd like some advice. I said, what's her name? So he told me, and of course I got my computer, the database. I pull her name, pull up her ID card. I'm like looking at her like, I'm thinking to myself, no way, dude. No way. I'm just being honest with you, okay? I mean, this girl looked like, well, like all y'all. This girl looked, I'm looking at like, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way this is going to work. But he goes, what do I do? I said, so I'm thinking here, okay, what are you studying? Engineering. Gee. Could have guessed that, And I said, do you know her at all? Have you met her? He goes, no, I don't know her, but her roommate's in my class. Your engineering class? Yes. I'm going to take a wild guess here, but I'm thinking you're doing pretty well in that class. And my guess is that if you started a study group, you could probably help a few other people in your class do really well in engineering. Maybe even her roommate. So go back, start a study class, make sure her roommate's part of it. Because you say, I want to, if everybody needs help, I volunteer my time, we can come together and study so everybody can get an A. How about that? So he did it. And sure enough, the roommate joined the group. So then he comes back to me, this is about a week later, he comes back to me, what do I do now? I'm like, dude, what am I, a dating service? I said, now, at this point, the roommate knows who you are. And my guess is, because I have 3 daughters, they like to talk. So my guess is she's been telling the girl, her roommate, about your study class. Next time you go to the dining hall, if you see her in there, walk up to her and just introduce yourself. Oh, hi, I'm the guy that's doing the study group. Just like that. Don't try to make a big deal. Don't try to just say, hi, I just want to introduce I'm the guy doing the study group. I just wanted to say hello. All right? So he goes and does it. That took him a few days to get the nerve up. But he just walked up to her. She was at the machine getting some milk. And he walked up there. He introduced himself. And he says, my name is Sir John. I did the study. He goes, oh, my roommate's been telling me. You're the one. She's starting to do better in that class. That's awesome that you're doing that. Thank you, very nice. And he walks away. Great. He comes back. What do I do next? I'm like, dude! So now, we're greasing the wheels here, right? And so we eventually got to the point where he needed to ask her on a date. This was the hard part. So I said, now it's been about a month. She knows who you are. You've been saying hi to her, waving at her when you see her in the dining room. The roommate still thinks she's going to. So she has this kind of idea about you. Now you need to ask her out. Here's what you do. You got to be a gentleman. You ask her out, and if she says yes, you make sure you bring flowers. You bring a small box of candy. Not big, because she thinks you try to get her fat. A small box of candy. You dress nice. And before you go out on the date, wherever you decide to take it, before you go to the Adoration Chapel. And you say to her, I'd like to just stay here and pray for 10 minutes before we start this day. Now, she may think you're completely nuts. But now you're showing her what you're all about. Do that. Now, of course, it took a long time, like a couple of weeks, for him to get the courage. But he finally did it. And she said yes. Fast forward. I gave the homily at their wedding. True story. True story. Now, what does that have to do with sex and dating? See, I told him to lead with his heart, not with that organ a little lower than your heart. Lead with your heart. Show her who you are. Show her who you are. And it worked. And they got kids, got me, beautiful. And, you know, she told me, she goes, I never thought I would fall for a guy who's a little shorter than me, who's a little geeky, but she said, you know, she tells me now, he is the absolute best husband, best father. I mean, this is a man who died. And who dies every day of his life in sacrificing service for her and their kids. Because oh yeah, you have to look this certain way, you have to, you know, God said you should be a monk. You know, when I was Howard, before I was Deacon, when I was in the monastery, you know, when I was joining, my friends said, you should be a monk because you're too short, you're too dark. No girl's ever going to, you know, they're just kidding around. But then, you know, my wife right now is Irish, she's taller than me. I'm like, she's not going to, you know? And look at us now, right? Crazy. But what the matters is what kind of heart you are. What kind of heart you have. Because God don't care what you look like on the outside. God cares what kind of person you are on the inside. That's what people need to see. But yet we men think we gotta be, oh, we gotta be this, we gotta be hot, we gotta be this. Don't do that, fool. Look, let me tell you something, right? What I do, I have 3 daughters, okay? When they turn 16, their first date is with me. I dress like this. I bring them flowers. I take them out to dinner. I open the car door for them. I pull out the seat for them. I treat them like a woman. Why? I want the bar to be set here. Here's where you start. Not here. Where some guy comes to my house, hey dude, let me take your daughter out. It starts here. Because someday some guy's going to come to my door and want to take my daughter someplace when she's 30. And when that guy comes to the door, I'm going to give my daughter a talk. But look, the reality is what I said is going to go in one ear and out the other. She's going to be focused on that guy. What she's going to take out the door with her that night is the same thing she's going to take down the aisle with her one day. She's going to have 18 or 19 years of watching how I treat my wife. So the greatest gift I can ever give to my children is to love my wife as Christ loved the church. To die to myself every day of my life to live for them. Because if I want my daughter to marry the man of her dreams, I better show her what one looks like. Now, contraception and porn. All right. Now, I'm not afraid to preach the truth in love. I ain't afraid to preach on abortion. I'm not afraid to preach on contraception. I'm not afraid to preach on any of the difficult issues. But sometimes when you preach, people don't like what you say, and they complain. When they complain about me, so what? So what? I could care less. Because I got to stand before Jesus when I die, and I have to give an account for my diaconal ministry. I was afraid to preach the truth, Jesus, because people wouldn't like me. Let me see if I got this straight. My son died on a cross, and you didn't have the courage to stand up for what he died for? Yeah. What's Jesus going to say to me? I don't know you. So I preached a homily on the beauty of natural family planning and why we as Catholics should not ever contracept. The truth in love, it wasn't like, you're going to go to hell, but it was, you know, the truth in love. A guy comes up to me, I'm greeting people in the back, Deacon, I want to talk to you. Sure, not here, in the presbytery. Great. So I take off my vest, I go over there with him, we sit down in the parlor. What's the issue? I didn't like your homily. Okay, that's fair. Which part? All of it. Well, what's the problem? My wife doesn't want to have sex with me anymore. Ooh. That's not good. Are you guys not using contraception? And he said, oh, see, Deacon, this is the problem. See, you need to understand that all these people you're preaching to out the pews, they're all using contraception. The church is stuck in the Middle Ages, in the 10th century, and the church needs to get up to the modern age and say, dude, I asked you a yes or no question. He goes, of course we're using contraception. What's the big deal? I said, we'll get back to that. I said, tell me about the last time this happened with you and your wife. He said, the kids came home from school, and then they went out for their activities. I was home alone with my wife, and we had a little dinner. Then a little while after dinner, I made some advances. I said, okay, got you. And my wife said to me, I don't want to have sex with you right now. And I'm waiting for the rest of it, and he's not saying anything. I said, that's all she said? Yes. And you're mad? Yes. Let me see if I got this straight. Did your wife tell you, I don't love you anymore? No. Did your wife say to you, I don't ever want to have sex with you ever again? No. You said that she said, I don't want to have sex with you right now. Did you then say to her, okay, baby, what about an hour from now? You can give her that much? No. Then why are you angry? Disappointed, I can see. But why are you so angry? He couldn't tell me. I said, here's why you're angry. Love and life are two things that God never intended to be separated. As we saw from Genesis 1 and 2, love, life. Life is an outflow of God's loving activity. Psalm 119, verse 88, summarizes it beautifully. Because of your love, give me life, and I will do your will. What you've done by contraception, I don't know if you're using a condom or a pill or an IUD, whatever you're doing, what you're doing is forcing two things apart that God never intended to be separated. You are forcing two things apart. When you force love and life apart, you create a chasm, a gap, a void, an emptiness. And we as human beings don't like that kind of space in our lives. So what do? We try to fill it with porn or drugs or alcohol or work or whatever it is to try to close that gap. And the only thing that can close that gap is a deep, intimate, personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I said, by separating these two things, you've turned your wife into an object for your pleasure and gratification. It doesn't matter now whether it's your hand, whether it's a computer screen, whether it's another woman. Because all you want now is pleasure. You could care less about her. All you want is pleasure. Now, let me be clear. Pleasure is not a bad thing. Pleasure is an awesome thing. But the way God placed pleasure in our life, it's a means to an end. There's lots of things that God puts in our lives that lead us ultimately toward Him, toward the beatific vision, life of God forever. One of the things at a very base level, at a very ephemeral level, is pleasure. Because the pleasure is designed to raise our minds and our hearts to God. For example, my wife loves chocolate. I don't know many women who don't. And whenever she bites into a piece of chocolate, oh God, that's good. Because the pleasure of the chocolate raises her mind and her heart to God. Very simple example. But what Satan does, he takes pleasure out of its proper context of being a means to an end, and he pulls it out and holds it up in the culture. Pleasure is now an end in itself. Pleasure is now your God. And everything you do is directed toward worshiping this God, which is pleasure. I took my wallet out and I slammed my wallet on the table. I said, I bet you everything in my wallet right now that when your wife did that, you went to your computer and you took care of things yourself, didn't you? He said, yeah, I did. I said, you know why you did that? Because you are a slave to Satan. You are a slave to the God of pleasure. And while you're doing that, looking at that porn and playing with yourself while you look at the porn, Satan is laughing in your face. The more you look at that stuff, you gotta understand. The same chemicals in your brain that get released when you take a hit of cocaine, dopamine, epinephrine, those things are released when you look at porn. And it's just like drugs. The more you look at, the more you need to get the same effect. And here's the thing. Guys look at that because they think, I'm not having sex, so I'll look at porn. But the more porn you look at, and I have testimonies that can prove this without a doubt. The more you look at that stuff, the less you actually want physical intimacy. So you look at it because you're not having sex, but the more you look at it, the more you don't want sex. That's from the devil right there. That's crazy. But that's exactly what's happening to so many men. And increasingly now, more women are starting to look at porn now. That's what this guy was doing. So he looks at me and he says, well, what do you and your wife do? I said, bro, we just go for it, bro. Whatever happens, happens. But when we're disciplined, we use natural family planning. He did not know what that was. So I had to explain it to him. He must not listen to my aunt. But I explained it to him. He said, wait a minute. What happens if your wife is just not into it that night? I said, dude, that happens to me. Look, I'm on tour right now. I'm going to be gone for a month. And I'm leaving tomorrow for Europe. When I get home, I'm going to be ready to go. All right? It's been a long time, baby. Time to go. But what's happened to me in the past on these tours, I come back and I'm happy. I'm unloading my dirty clothes in the hamper in the bathroom. Tonight. And I look in the garbage. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, man. That's going on now? So now I got to wait another week. So what do I do in those situations? I have 3,600 books in my library at home on theology and philosophy. The one that's closest to my desk is the Summa Theologica by St. Thomas Aquinas. English on one side, Latin on the other. And when my wife ran into it that night, or she's on her period, no problem. I just go and grab one of the volumes of the Summa, and I start reading St. Thomas Aquinas till that feeling goes away. Because St. Thomas Aquinas will kill any sexual desire you have in your body. Trust me, man, it works. And I told him, I would rather do that than to turn my wife into a thing, into an object, into a non-person. Because every day of my life, as her husband and the father of her children, I want to see her the way God sees her. I want to look at her through God's eyes. What God sees is what I want to see when I look at her. When I look at every woman. That's why I will never contracept, ever. Oh, let's look at God's providence here. I happen to have a letter from a young man who wrote me about his porn addiction. Just a brief excerpt from the letter. My masturbation addiction has progressed since the age of 10. Now I'm 23. It takes me away from enjoying almost everything else. Even women that I felt I was in love with when it came to sex, I ended up choosing porn, fantasy, and masturbation over them. I just no longer desire sex with a real person. Like many others out there, I am living proof of how destructive this addiction really is. Bam! And I can show you even more testimonies that say the exact same thing that this young man told me. Men, you are being lied to. Women, you are being lied to. I know you're looking for love. This is a world that is starved of authentic love and intimacy. And when you know that he's the one, is when he's willing to do this, not before. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Grab a couple chairs. Now, when I was still active in the parish, I used to do marriage prep. And often, we would have couples doing marriage preparation in my parish who were living together. Now, I'm going to show you what I did pastorally when a couple came to me for marriage preparation who were living together. Now, before I do this example, I want to just say this. In our parish, marriage is a 10-week preparation course with me. If the young lady goes to Father, look, Father, the ring, he did it, he did it. Father, oh, that's wonderful. Father, we need to start planning. Oh, wait. Go see the deacon. Because the thinking is, if they don't get past me, they don't get married. Because we take marriage very seriously in our parish. See, when they come to me, they think, we're getting married. I think they're still discerning. And only 60% of the couples end up getting married after going through with me. Only 6 out of 10, which is good. It's better you find out now than realize you made a mistake down the road. Now, I used to have couples that come that were living together. So what would I do for those couples? Now, I'm going to ask a volunteer, a guy and a girl, to come up here to simulate a couple of the culture who are trying to get married in the Catholic Church. Now, here's some parameters, okay? First of all, I know you guys are all wonderful Catholics, or else you wouldn't be here, okay? But for the sake of this example, you cannot think or act like yourself. You have to think or act like a person of the culture. All right? So I'm going to ask some questions. You just have to be brutal. And please be disrespectful with me. So if I have a guy and a girl who can do that, come up here. And I'll do this little wonderful example. Just come on up, bro. What's your name?
Adrian.
Adrian. All right. Let's see. Have a seat, bro. All right. Who wants to get together? A girl. Get together with Adrian.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Oh, it'll be fun. I promise. Won't embarrass you. All right, come on up. What's your name? Melissa. Adrian and Melissa. Okay. So, again, when I go through this example, you're going to be tempted to act or respond like Adrian, because all these people are here. So, you can't be you, and you have to think like people of the culture out there who don't go to church, whose whole worldview is formed by their friends and social media and all that kind of stuff. Can you do that? Okay, all right. So, when a couple like this comes in, there's one of two ways you can handle this. You can do what I call old school. You know, you got the old crusty priest. I see you guys on the application have the same address. You living together? Well, you know that that's a mortal sin, and you know you're going to go to hell, and in terms of, if I do that, what are you going to do? Hey, goodbye, you're out of there! That's not what I do. Here's what I do. Hi, I'm Deacon Harold. Adrian and Melissa. Oh, what if I'm Deacon Harold? Hey, how'd you guys meet? That was one of the best answers. Hey, what does your dad think about this guy?
He loves me.
You know, he thinks he loves. Okay. And you know, I talk about how my wife and I met. Everybody's feeling good, and then I pull out the folder. I say, I see you guys have the same address. You living together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, do you guys plan on getting divorced after you get married? No? Right? That's the answer. This is real. This is the answer they give. And I said, because I don't understand, because we all know that half of the couples that get married get divorced. And those numbers are just about the same for Catholics. But did you know that those who divorce, most of them live together first? So I give them a copy of a study. It's called Should We Live Together? Has nothing to do with God, has nothing to do with faith. It's a sociological study, and it's a meta-analytical study, which means it takes all the known research on cohabitation and puts the results together in one report. And it says the worst thing you could do before you get married is live together. So it's completely nothing to do with God or faith. So I give them a copy of the executive summary. Then I ask the questions that I really want to ask to him. Adrian, do you plan on having sex with anybody other than Melissa after you get married? No? So why are you doing it now? You're having sex with somebody you're not married to.
It's pleasurable.
Now that's good, because some guys say, oh, come on, Deacon, really? You got to test drive the car before you buy it. I'm not kidding. That was an actual answer I got from one guy. She said it's pleasurable. Okay, let me see if I understand what you're saying. So you guys get married. It's a month into the wedding, and you're getting used to the feel of the ring on your finger. You start to call Melissa your wife now instead of your fiance or your girlfriend. And everything's going great. And then Melissa gets hit by a drunk driver. She becomes a quadriplegic. You have to spoon feed her, change her diapers, no sex for the rest of your life. That's the kind of relationship you're ready for? They say nothing.
Yes.
They're like, because I got them trapped. Because if he says yes, then she's sitting right next to him. Right? If he says no, then she just saw what she said. What? Remember? We're in love. So here's what I do. I say, you know what? I take my question back. I apologize. I shouldn't ask you anything so difficult. Let me make this really easy for you. If that accident happened to her next week, would you still marry her?
I don't want to buy a broken car.
Now, you wouldn't say anything that's... See, look, my friend, there's a fine line between pretend and idiocy, okay? The woman who you're going to spend the rest of your life sitting next to, well, you won't say that, but you know what he said? Well, you saw what he did. He paused again before he gave his dumb answer. No, but he was sitting there, he went, Why the hesitation? I thought they're in love. No one has to tell them how to live. They're having sex. See, here's the thing. The reason why he's all hesitating now, he's getting exactly what he wants out of his relationship. He's getting all the sex that he wants, someone to pay half his rent. He can still hang out with his friends. Why? Because he's not married. And if she gets into an accident and they ain't married yet, he's out of there. Why? He's not in covenant relationship. All these people think living together is just like being married, except you don't have the piece of paper. That's garbage. Because as soon as something goes down like this, he's gone. Here's what I tell him at this point. I say, you know what, bro? Let me tell you what I would do if that happened to my wife tomorrow. I would go back home. I would have my bishop suspend my faculties to function as a deacon so I can spend the rest of my life taking care of my wife. Because when I walked into that church and I put this ring on and I made those vows, I meant every word that came out of my mouth. And if you're not ready for that kind of commitment, don't get married. Bam. Why? Playtime is over. You have priests that come and say, well, just try to get the confession first before the wedding. And, look, if they're not listening to their parents, they're going to listen to the priest. They need a reality check. If they're serious about spending the rest of their natural life together, we need to prepare them to receive a sacrament of the Holy Catholic Church that's going to last them their whole life, not look good for pictures. So I go through the first session. This is just session 1 of 10. But I'll be honest with you. What percentage of the cohabitating couples, now, I'm not talking about the ones who are civilly married, because there are some that are civilly married. I'm talking about the ones like this who are not even civilly married. What percentage actually go through the whole 10 weeks with me? What percentage? 60? That go through to the end? 0. You know why? Most of them end up breaking up, or they go to the church down the street that makes them look good for pictures. So you don't have to work this hard. Yeah, just go do your pre-Cana weekend, your marriage and your gaze encounter weekend. Oh yeah, take that NFP class online, and you're all set. Think about this for a second, my friends. Right? Abuna. Or Saida. You're a Monsignor. I'm not sure what to call you. Monsignor. Okay? How many years did you spend in seminary becoming a priest?
7.
7 years in seminary. And you're going to be a priest your entire life. But yet you prepare people for marriage that's going to last them their entire life. What do? A weekend? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? 5 weeks? To last them, get them ready for their whole life together? They spend 7 years in a seminary. We spent a month, if that. Not good enough. This is what I'm talking about here. So there is a huge difference. If you're living together, right? If You've lived with somebody. I'm not judging you. I'm not throwing stones at you. I'm asking you to have this conversation when you get home. And if you say, well, yes, I'm committed, then put the ring on. Make God of the heart and center of your life together. Then you'll find the joy. Because what's the goal? To get each other to heaven. What's his goal? He said it twice. Pleasure. Not get each other to heaven. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. That was awesome. All right. So to wrap it up here, my friends, here's the thing. I'm going to share a little something here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but the Holy Spirit said, share it. One of the things that I do, and I think we have a CD on this in the back, it's called the 10 Tips to Divorce-Proof Your Marriage. You do these 10 things, you will never get divorced. Never get divorced. One of them is sexual fulfillment. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of my heart with you because, remember, I was a punk. I never thought I'd be married. I never thought I'd have sex. I never thought I'd do this. But now I'm married, have kids. So, I had to learn a few things. Okay? Like, when I want to have sex and my wife is, she's open to it, right? And I'll make a move. She'll say, cool. She'll take the glasses off, put her book down. She'll turn toward me and she'll say, guess what Claire did today? Our daughter. I'm like, I don't care what Claire did today. This ain't the time to talk about what Claire did today. But it took me a while. What was going on? I wanted to have sex so I could feel close to her. She wanted to feel close to me first so she could have sex. God put it backwards. So what did I have to do? I had to learn. Slow your roll. So now, if I'm upset, she's into it, I got the massage stuff. And as I'm rubbing her shoulders, tell me what Claire did today, honey. How did things go in your private practice today? Shoulder down, and you take the time, and then we're able to have the kind of response that I want as a man. You know what I'm talking about, guys? Stuff the pillows under the door, take the windows up, because it's getting crazy over here! That's the kind of response when you are truly committed to give yourself to each other totally, completely, and freely. That's the relationship in which you help get each other to heaven. Because God is always at the heart and the center of everything you do as a couple. Remember, because the two of you are one. The two of you are one. It's like the hub of a wheel. God is the center, and every decision you make flows from that core, flows from that Eucharistic heart, flows from the deep, intimate love of Jesus Christ. That's the super glue that's holding your life together as a couple, as a married couple. And sex is a natural outcome from that. Now, we're in a place now where my wife is in menopause. It's just like, that's a weird place, man. Hormones, all the hot flashes, and it's crazy. So we're having less sex now than at any point in our marriage. But I love my wife more now than the day I married her. Because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I'm willing to be patient with my wife. I'm willing to wait. Because I want to give her everything of me and hold nothing back of myself from her. Because that's what she deserves. Sometimes I have to pinch myself that she actually said yes when I asked her to marry her. I'm the most blessed man on the face of the earth. And I'm sharing my heart with you to show you what's possible. Are things perfect? Nope. I mean, I'm black, she's Irish, do the math. Sometimes those personalities clash. No marriage is perfect, but we try. We work really hard at it. Marriage is, I was a monk. Marriage is much harder than being in a monastery. I tell you right now. But it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So, to conclude this time here, I just want you to think and reflect deeply and seriously about the things that we talked about tonight. Because these are the things of God. The culture is sending us messages about our bodies are just, whatever you want to do with your body, my choice. But we are not our own. We belong to God. We're to glorify God with every aspect of our being. You are to love the Lord your God with all your mind and all your heart and all your soul and all your strength, with everything that's in you. Because that's what he died for. That's what he gave his life for. And you need to understand how much God truly loves you. He loves you more than you will ever possibly know. As if you were the only person that has ever been created on this earth. He loves you. He wants to share life with you. And he's created this beautiful sacrament of marriage, this covenant, this exchange of love and life and intimacy and communion. So I challenge each and every one of you to ephrata, be open. Be open to the beauty of truth, the truth that sets you free. The great American writer Mark Twain once said, the two greatest days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Let the one holy Catholic apostolic faith, through its beautiful teaching on sex and dating, help to give you your why. Amen. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Deacon, for the phenomenal talk. Just a quick announcement, guys. First of all, we do have a Q&A going on, so if anyone would listen to the talk, had any questions, any concerns at all, we're all in an open space. Feel free if you just come around here and just line up where my friend Jono is right here, and you can have a chance to ask Deacon a question. Secondly, we also have collections going around, so you'll see these collections are for Perusian media. Perusian media have the phone out, Deacon, and pay for all of the accommodation and so forth, and so these are to help with the travel expenses and so forth. So please feel free to donate. And lastly, of course, we also have Perusian media material outside for purchase. Shabo Rage is there with a few from his team. There are talks that are available for purchase, like this one, which if you listen to it, if you want to pass it on to someone you know, a friend or family, you can. There are also a wide variety of other talks, so please feel free. There's also USB, which you can purchase for $55, which has all of his talks on it available, so you can just simply plug it into your car. So without further ado, we'll start Q&A. And again, thank you, Deacon.
Hello, Deacon. I'm Katrina. Thank you very much for your talk. It was fantastic. I'd like to say I'm a primary care doctor, and I see so many people broken in body and mind from what I see now as serial monogamy or promiscuity. And I would like to ask if you can help me spread the word, the truth. How is it that I can share something of my faith with these broken people who just use their bodies as playgrounds and then come to me broken? How can I help them?
Yeah, just tell them the truth. In love, but it has to be the truth, because obviously what they're doing is not working. So you have to show them, maybe you should consider this. And present the church's teaching without being the church's teacher. You know what I mean? Don't say, well, I'm Catholic and we believe this. No, no. Well, say, how about something called natural procreative technology? What about this thing called natural family planning? He said, wait a minute, isn't that like roulette? Well, no, actually, the science is pretty solid. It's actually quite fascinating. If you got 5 minutes, I would love to show you how this works. Oh, okay. What I'm doing is not working. I'm open. You know the connection I make? Oh, here's a great example. When I have these couples that, not say they're not Catholic, but where I live in Oregon, there's not that many Catholics. So Catholics end up marrying what I call nature people, right? Like they have no faith, no baptism, nothing, just like natural law kind of folks. But it's very interesting. When we get to the sex stuff, when I talk about natural family planning, the nature people, because where I live, it's all about organic, farm to table, but don't put bad stuff in your body, let's protect the earth, all this kind of, that's a big thing. Every single restaurant has a vegan menu, every single one. That's how committed they are. So when I talk about this, I said, no. Natural family, that's not what you think it is. Here's how it works. They're like, nah, that can't be right. No chemicals, no side effects, no this. Go check it out for yourself. And they go do their own research, and they come back, they're like, no way, dude. What? How come no one else knows about this? And they're more open than the Catholic person is. Because now they realize this actually works. They look at the science behind it, and they realize, wait a minute, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I eat good things. This is something else that's good for, and the light goes on in their head. It's really awesome to see. So I would maybe recommend that approach.
Very much.
And thank you for doing what you're doing. We need
Thank you.
positions
Thank
like
you for
this.
the encouragement.
God bless you.
Hi, Deacon.
Hi.
I'm just the shortest.
Oh, that's okay. I know it's like it's short. We're good.
Yeah, so you mentioned about how, women these days, just like men, are becoming more addicted to porn.
Yeah.
As, like this day and age. And I noticed also that, just like the issues you have talked about, men, that women are tending towards objectifying men, towards, as I said, watching porn and, getting commitment phobic as well. And I guess because you have talked so much about man's duty in this realm of marriage and sex and such, what would you say to women in regards to?
Well, that's why I talk about Genesis 2, right? The woman is the battle partner. She's the culmination of God's creation. She's the life giver and life bearer. A man has to respect that. If he doesn't respect that, look, here's the questions to be asking yourself as a woman, if you're with a guy. Does he respect my purity? Can I honestly see him as the father of my children? Do my parents respect him? Is he truly a man of God? Does he look at porn or drink or play games, a gamer, for hours on end? Is this a man who's really going to get me to heaven? Those are the kinds of 30,000-foot questions you need to ask and look at when you're in a relationship. Like I said, women are the most beautiful creatures God has ever created. And like I said, when you know that he's the one when he's willing to do this. There's a lot of good men out there. And the man that treats you like a queen, as you should be treated, where you don't have to worry about this, you just worry about just being who you are and not be afraid to be who God made you with this God, that's what you're looking for.
I guess from there, like also the point of view I wanted to come from was, what about if you are a woman who has come from a background that you are the one who has made other men, how would you say? So you're the one who has, I'm trying to find the words. So, like you're saying that we should look for
kind of
And
promiscuous,
so
something like
it's
that.
kind of difficult to actually talk to those kind of women about their role in that area, because they come from a mindset that, oh, but it's all about me as well. Like, you know, do you get what I mean by that?
I think so. So you're talking about maybe a woman's coming from a background where she's had some issues in the past?
Like, I guess, like, okay, so think about the issues that you talked about with the man, but it's a woman instead.
Yeah, so like I said, pornography, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, women are looking at more and more pornography now. I think there's the studies aren't as good for the women because this is a kind of a newer phenomenon. But I think part of it is they think they have to do that to make a man happy. So before we get married, I better learn what to do to make him happy. But no man wants that. No man wants that. If you ask any guy in here, would he rather marry a virgin or would he marry a girl who was experienced before they got married? Every man here would say he want to marry a virgin. But yet, we're taught like, oh man, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. That's all a lie. Men don't really want that. You know what they want? They want the monstrance. No, Mary was the first monstrance. She was the first vessel that held in the tabernacle of whom the body was the divinity of Jesus Christ. That's what men want. They want what Joseph had. In their heart of hearts, every man wants to look at a woman and see the monstrance. Every man wants to look at a woman and see what Joseph got to see every day. That's what they really want. They don't want this lie outside. They do it because they're slaves to the culture, slaves to pleasure. But in their heart, they want beauty and truth. And so the woman has to present. Now, if she comes from a background where she's, this is go to confession, and you can start again. You can start again. You make that commitment that I refuse to. The only way I can show love is to do this for a guy. Any guy that wants to do that wants nothing to do with you except pleasure. I don't care who he says he is. Oh, we've been dating for 3 years, and I've been holding myself up for 3 years, and you hold yourself for 3 more until he does that. Period. He's not worth your time. If all you can do is pressure you, again, what's the covenant first? If he's not willing to make a commitment, then he's not willing to have you. Period. Stand strong. I mean, guys are attracted to women who don't want to have sex with them. Men, if you go to a girl and she's like, not playing like trying to get like a game, but like, dude, I'm saving myself for a real man. I'm saving myself for my husband. Every guy be like, dang. That's the kind of girl I'm going to take home to my mom. They don't want the other thing. That's what they want. So that's what you need to do to get the man of your dreams, because they're out there. And hopefully these men are there. Let me give you an example. When I was a chief at the uni, I get called a call out to a party. Because our students would have these big parties in the neighborhood. The police would come because the neighbors, if they're drunk and they're complaining. So I got to this party, and we're trying to identify our students. And this girl comes up to me, she's all frantic. My roommate, I can't find my roommate. I called her phone and there's no answer. So we're trying to track her down. I called dispatch to get her address. And meanwhile, the young man walks up to me and says, she's home. I said, how would you possibly know that? He said, yeah, I was here minding my own business, drinking my beer, and I saw her, and she was pretty drunk. And the next thing I knew, I saw a guy grab her and take her into a bedroom and close the door. And I said to myself, that could be my sister. And so I walked into the room, and I walked up to that young lady. I said, excuse me, could I call you an Uber to get you home? And the guy said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm not talking to you. Do you want to get you a ride home? So she said, yes. So he showed me his phone. Uber, it had the map, with the route, how much, the time that they left, the time they got there, how much the ride was. The reason she wasn't answering her phone when we got to her house, she had let herself in the house and she passed out on the floor. But she was home and she was safe. I'm thinking, this guy, you see what I'm saying? That guy, he took advantage of her, but he didn't. Now, sometimes you have women that think, I need to do friends with benefits in order to make this man happy. But all you're doing is making it worse for him and for yourself. Don't do it. They don't want it. They're just using you. They don't care about you. Guaranteed, ladies. They don't care about you. They just care about what they can get from you. And so we have to have the courage and conviction to stand up for our faith, just like that young man did. We need young women that say, look, I'm not playing your game. That's why when I take my daughters out, the bar sets here. That's the standard that they're going to judge. The starting point is this man, the man that's going to take me to heaven, period. That's the standard. So everyone's called to the same virtue and holiness and purity, whether you're a man or a woman. What that looks like, I think, is a little different. But I think women have to just step back and say, I am not going to give myself to you that way. If he gets mad, bye-bye, little boy. Go find somebody else to play with. That's your attitude. That's your attitude. Not give in to him. See what I'm saying? All right.
Thank you very much.
Deacon Harold, thank you very much. You mentioned St. Thomas Aquinas. If I can just put a bit of a comment, I couldn't agree anymore with your statement. St. Thomas Aquinas is very systematic. In saying that, in bringing up St. Thomas Aquinas, he is very much straight to the point when it comes to his answers. And I know with a lot of young people, when it comes to dating, they're not too sure what exactly is the limit. And I'm not particularly, in terms of sex, that's the easy way of going about it, simply no. But in terms of kissing, in terms of, holding hands, even and so forth, that they consider minor physical things. Sometimes they don't get the straightforward answers. So, you being a man that loves to give straightforward answers, what do you think in the Catholic interpretation? What is that actual limit?
Sure. I'll say two things. One, first of all, you guys got to get off the stupid social media. Here's why. There are people that, like guys, they can't tell anymore if a girl really likes them or not. Usually, like if you're interacting personally, there's clues that she gives you that tells you, I'm not interested. I just want to be your friend. What's complicating things now is all this. Because it's not, and guys can't read cues anymore from the girls. No, well, she didn't delete me, so she must like me still. No, so start having personal interaction face to face and stop doing this. So you can start to read visual clues, so you can actually start, I meet guys right now, hey, I'm Deacon Hal, they're like this, they're like, hi, no firm handshake, hi, they won't even look. Because they're so used to doing this, they're uncomfortable with personal interaction. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing, holding hands, maybe giving a little kiss goodnight, that's not a problem. See, you gotta, if you're gonna engage in activity that's preparation for sex, that's a problem. Because I get it, and women are just like, wow, man. But here's the experience that I wish that more men had. When I thought girls were yucky until I got to 8th grade. And a new girl joined our class from California. She was the most beautiful girl. Until then, I thought girls were like, yeah, whatever. Now I'm like, oh. And things they smell different. Like in gym class, you had the physical education gym uniform. Like you're doing jumping jacks, things are bouncing around. Like that's cool. But there was nothing sexual about it. Like I would fantasize, like what if I held her hand? You know, what if we like walked down the street and I'm holding her hand? There's still songs that I hear today from back then. When I hear that song, I'm in 8th grade again. You know what I mean? And I remember once, this was great. I remember my best friend, Craig Allen, and I were, you know how boys would bump each other down the hallway, and he bumped me into her. And I said, I'm sorry. She goes, that's okay. And I went, my arm touched her. I can't wash it now. Oh, what if next time my whole hand hits her? What do I do? You know, that's what I want my son to have. That beautiful discovery of the other. That mystery that woman is. That beautiful, mysterious stuff. That's what I miss. That's what I have. That's what I want my son to have. You know? That's why I take my guys night out. I tell them about porn. I tell them I know son. I say, here's what it means to be an authentic man of God. And I teach my son. You know? So, but is anything that you engage in that may lead to petting or may lead to sex, for preparation for sex, stay away. And sometimes that, maybe it's just a handhold and things start happening physically for, let go. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it just depends. And a lot of it depends on the God. A lot of it depends on the God. But anything that's going to lead to further activity, that's going to need to stay away. Usually, walking down the street holding hands, a little kiss goodnight is not a problem. But anything other than that, just preparation for sex, is stay away.
Thank you, Deacon. Appreciate it.
Does age matter when dating? What if the girl is a little older? Do you experience with assisting couples on their journey to marriage? Do they work out just as well? And if there are complications, what are they?
So with older, like ones, like my wife's older than I am by a year. Right, so my wife's a year older than I am. So that was not an issue for us. Age is, I would say age is an issue unless, like, you know, like if you're older, you want to have kids, something like that. And, you know, usually there's a reason why God has people have kids when they're younger. You know, so when you get older, there's some things to think about there, like, you know, when you get more of a grandparent than a parent to the child, that kind of thing. You're going to have the energy and the vitality that it takes to be able to deal with a child, you know, that's younger and you're older. You know, all those, there's things that you need to talk about, but age, I think, is not a significant factor. I mean, I think you're looking for the deeper things. But it could be when it comes to things like children. I think those kinds of things are definitely issues. Or sometimes you'll see in the States, usually like if someone's older, married someone younger, especially they have money for the prenup. You know, that kind of thing, which again, which would invalidate the marriage. If you know, and that kind of thing. So I think the deeper things are the bigger questions, not so much the age.
Thank you.
Hey, Deacon.
Hey.
Yes.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good.
Good to see you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. I have a question.
No, seriously, I'm glad you're here.
A question regarding marriage.
Yes.
Because Paul gives an example of the bride and the groom, and the Christ being the bridegroom for the church, which is the bride. And I was considering this and the fact that Christ died for his bride.
Yes.
And if Christ died for the world as a whole, right? So entire world, and then and only part of that bride gets to heaven. Wouldn't that mean that each individual, he would divorce them? Because unless he died for a specific group of people and they all went to heaven, then they would be technically the bride. Otherwise, they would be divorced, and that would make Christ an adulterer, essentially. So. Yeah,
Christ died for everyone, but not everyone's going to be in relationship with him. Christ died for those who are ultimately going to be in covenant relationship with him. So Christ died for all, but not everybody's going to accept what he did for them. and then enter into that covenant relationship.
Oh,
So
yes.
everybody has the opportunity to come to Christ, but not everybody will accept that opportunity.
But he's given himself to his bride, so they're already in a covenant relationship. So,
Right, his bride, the church, those are already in covenant relationship with them. Right. Christ died for everyone, even those not in covenant relationship, but only those who get to the fullness of, the fullness of that covenant, of that wedding feast of the Lamb when they're in that covenant relationship. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So you have to say, so that means you have to be part of the bride of Christ in order to go to heaven with Christ.
Right. So the people that Christ died for, they were not necessarily the bride, are you saying?
Well, he died for everyone, even those who are not necessarily in covenant relationship with him right now. But if they know what Christ did for them, they come to discover, like a convert, right? Muslim discovers, oh, Christ really is who he says he is. Now he becomes part of that family. Christ died for him, but now he's realizing, oh, I know who he is, and he becomes part of the church, part of the bride of Christ.
Okay. It didn't seem consistent because Christ gave himself for the church, and he entered a relationship, and then later on, at some point, people can walk out that would make him divorce, essentially.
Well, no, he's not. God never divorces us. We're the ones that walk away from him. He never abandons us.
Well, I let my question stand.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. I really do mean that. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Deacon. So my question is, what would you recommend us women to respond to men who, whether it be directly or indirectly in front of women, talk about other girls and their features, like, oh, this girl has this, like, big stuff. And like, what would you say to the men who speak like that as well? And what should we respond to them in those situations?
You are interacting with a child, and what you want to interact with is a man. Kick him to the curb. Period.
So what if he's just like a friend and you're with a group of friends and it comes up in conversation? He might even just be talking to another guy, but you're sitting on the same table and you're sitting there together and he brings that up. Like, what should the woman say? Because I feel like if she doesn't say anything, then it's like, yeah, you can keep talking like that.
The fact that he would even say something like that with you sitting there shows he has no respect for you as a woman. So I would say, excuse me, I'm right here. Why would you say something like that? What is that saying about me? Shut up, speak to the hand. So that is a boy that you're dealing with. Bye-bye, boy, deal with real men. I mean, the fact you can say something like that with you there is a complete insult to you. It shows me he lacks any spiritual maturity at all to be dating anybody. Period. And I would tell him that to his face. If it was me. I would tell him that to his face.
Me too.
Good for you. Good for you.
Okay, I think we're done with Q&As. Deacon, just firstly, I have this book at home, and I was wondering, it's actually a book that you've written, and Shaba's asked me, what would you tell to the men in this audience? The book's called Behold the Man. What would you tell them about this book?
Well, here's what I tell the women. This is very interesting. I was speaking at a uni in the United States for, we call it campus ministry. What do you call it here? Chaplaincy?
Yeah, using Catholic societies, yeah.
The Catholic part of the uni? Yeah. So I was giving a talk at what we call campus ministry. And a girl came up to me with my book in her hand. And I'm like, oh, you have my book for men. And she said, my father sent this to me so I can read what my future husband looks like. I was like, yeah. I I didn't even think to use the book like that. You know, I think but she's reading it so she can see what a real man looks like. Huh? That's awesome. But for the men, you know, if you're a reader, this is the book you need to read. If you're struggling with things in your life, you want to take a relationship with your stuff, you want to take a relationship with God to that next level, take your faith life to that next level, this is the book for you. So I break it down for you in here. And the hermeneutic that's in here is Christ crucified. What Paul says, I preach Christ and Christ crucified. I want to know nothing except the cross of Jesus Christ. The 2 Corinthians, I've been crucified with Christ, so I'm to live, but Christ who lives in me. So this is the book for you. And the last chapter is great. So what I do is I take all the stuff that I've done in the book, and the last chapter is Ephesians chapter 6. It goes to the armor of God, helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, sword of the Spirit, shod your feet with the gospel of peace. Each piece of the armor, and I apply a specific, hands-on, real-world things that you can do every day to live your life as a man of God, based on the principles in the beginning of the book. So this definitely is the book for you. If you're a reader, now, if you really like technical, heady stuff, read the footnotes. But you can get everything out of the books and skip the footnotes. But if you want to know like fundamental option, or if you want to know like what that Greek word means, I got all the footnotes. You can skip those and still get everything out of the book. So that's what I would say.
Amen. Last thing, Deacon. On a different topic note, so you've no doubt heard of New South Wales current legislation on the abortion.
We were cheering in the States. We saw the video of all the 10,000 people out there protesting. We were like, yes. It was awesome. Seriously, it was great to see Australians responding like that, standing up together, as one body of Christ for life. It was awesome.
Amen. As you guys all know, we've got our feast day next Sunday, and we will invite you guys after that, after you spend a few hours, enjoying feast day, to come down to the rally. And really, that's the next thing I wanted to ask you, Deacon, or just say to these young people about the rally. Words of encouragement. Well,
definitely go. We have to start standing up for our faith and not paying lip service to it. There are so many, these are babies who have no one to speak for them except us. They have no one to speak for them except us. We can stand up for them. Imagine if this was a time of slavery, and my family was on a slave block being sold. And you're walking by saying, ain't my business. That's got nothing to do with me. No, that's just the way our society is. What if nobody said anything? What if nobody did anything? But there were people who stood up and said, no, this is wrong. We're all made in the image and likeness of God. And they stood up against that evil. And they won. And we already know how the story ends. We win. But we need now to stand up and let our voices be heard. This is just the beginning. They're also going to try and tell the priests they have to break the seal of confession, taking away our religious liberty. But we have to stand up now. They tried in California and it failed. Our state of California. Because people stood up and they backed off. So don't get out there. Let your voices be heard. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed of your faith. Show these legislators what truth looks like. Go out there in force and stand up for what is true and good and beautiful. That's what I would say. And if I was going to Europe, I'd be there with you. If I was leaving tomorrow for Europe, I would be there with you. Guaranteed.
Thank you, Deacon. And just a thank you from all of us as a token of the appreciation for you coming out here. We've just gotten a gift. I've heard your talks before, and I know that your wife loves wine. And whenever you come back from your talk, she always, she loves it because she gets you, but she also gets the wine as well. A couple of gifts. So we're giving you some champagne, some more. I hope you really enjoy it. And as another gift, we've also got a candle of our Christ Redeemer, of the parish as a token of appreciation, but also for the kids. One gift for the wife, one gift for the kids. We know how much that your kids love Tim Tams.
Yeah!
And so As an Australian iconic brand, we thought we'd give you, and all different flavours as well. You've got double choc, you've got mint, you've got dark chocolate, everything there. So thank you very much again, Deacon. One more time, guys.